Overall functionality and chronic fatigue crashes, huge improvements. Another one is chronic pain. Hello my friends, it's time for my 1-year updates on the carnivore diet. And I'm excited to share with you guys all the improvements that I've seen. My life just looks completely different than when I started the carnivore way of eating, and I can't be more grateful for that. So to give you a little bit of background, before I started the carnivore diet, I was very sick. I had been chronically ill at that point for about 5 years, and I had been diagnosed with conditions such as Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, dysautonomia, or postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, Chiari malformation, tethered cord syndrome, intracranial hypertension, which is high pressure in the brain, gastroparesis, celiac disease, chronic Lyme disease. The list really just goes on. And for years I went down the traditional medicine route. I tried all sorts of medications and treatments. I actually had 5 brain and neurosurgeries during those years, and at my worst I was bedbound, and I think if I had continued down the path that I had been down, there's a chance that I wouldn't still be here today. So I'm just really thankful for this way of eating and other things that I have done over the last year or so to help heal from chronic illness. And just so you guys know, the carnivore diet is not the only thing that I have been doing to work towards healing. I've also been doing a brain retraining program called DNRS, which has been probably equally as life-changing as doing the carnivore diet. I have gotten prolotherapy injections in my neck, which is a type of regenerative medicine. But doing carnivore has certainly been one of the biggest contributors to my healing journey, if not the biggest one. I would say it's a toss-up between the carnivore diet and DNRS, which is the brain retraining, as the biggest things that have helped me to heal. And I started those things many months apart, so I knew that I was getting benefits from both separately. Anyways, when I started the carnivore diet, I was not at my worst point of my chronic illness journey, but I was very sick. To give you an idea of that, on a good day, I maybe could get up and do something very low energy for like 1 to 2 hours a day, and doing that could easily send me into a flare where I would be in bed for days. I guess bottom line, the majority of my time was spent completely debilitated in bed. I was in a lot of pain. I had a lot of neurological symptoms. At that point, it felt almost unbearable to just make it through the day on a normal day for me. And looking back now, remembering where I was is just crazy. I'm doing so much better. I mean, so much better. And I'm just gonna go through some of the main improvements that I've seen that are in relation to the carnivore diet. Before I get into that, I just want to mention that the first few months of doing carnivore was really hard. In the beginning, I struggled to eat at all. Like, I was force feeding myself, which I'm not recommending doing that. But I was doing this on my own. I didn't have a doctor's guidance at all. I just really wanted to give this diet a good try, and in the beginning the transition phase was rough. I was having really bad low blood sugars. I'll do another video at some point on the transition phase and what maybe I would have done differently, but ultimately I would have transitioned slower into carnivore had I gone back and started again, especially with being so sick. I only took about 2 weeks. Even after the first month or two, I saw benefits in some ways as I was still going through the transition phase, and just little tiny glimpses of like, I think this is helping me to stay out of bed a little bit longer without crashing. So the improvements were all very gradual. It was never something that was like, oh, I ate carnivore for a week and now I'm healed of X, Y, and Z. It was all just so gradual that I had to look back to see the difference. And so the first thing that I noticed after the first few months was just my overall capacity to do things and to function, and my energy levels. They were still very low, but they had increased significantly from where I was at. So within the first few months, I was able to double or triple the amount of time that I was spending out of bed a day. So from like average of 1-ish hours to 2, 3, even 4 hours out of bed on a good day after a few months. And now, a year later, I barely spend any time in bed during the day. I typically maybe have to rest in the middle of the day for like an hour or so. Overall, I'm not spending much time at all in bed during the day, which is just crazy, because I was really, for the most part, living life in bed for years. And so just that alone has been incredible, and so life-changing for me, and I'm really, really thankful for that. So I used to get these, what they call fatigue crashes, and it's hard to describe that to someone that hasn't experienced it, but basically, if I overdid it, then I would have a severe fatigue crash where like literally I felt like I couldn't roll over in bed, and I couldn't look at light, and any sound that I heard was just like so painful. Like I said, it's hard to describe if you haven't experienced it. I had never experienced anything like that before I became chronically ill. I didn't know it was possible to experience something like that. But that has improved so much. My fatigue crashes are, for the most part, gone. If I overdo it, then I recover so much faster than I used to, which is a huge blessing. Overall functionality and chronic fatigue crashes, huge improvements. Another one is chronic pain. So I was in a lot of severe chronic pain, including like severe body aches, kind of like how you feel when you have a bad flu, but all the time. I had body aches, muscle aches, joint pain, and now on my good days, most of that is resolved, which is amazing. It was probably closer to like 5 or 6 months in that I really started to see a big difference in that, and with the joint pain. What else? So POTS symptoms. So POTS is a form of dysautonomia where like when you sit up and stand up, your heart rate goes up like crazy without, in a way that's out of your control. Your blood pressure can drop, you can pass out, you can feel really, really dizzy, like you're not getting any blood flow to your brain. That has definitely improved as well. I'm able to stand and walk so much longer. Even in the beginning with the carnivore diet, when I started to be able to cook my own meals, I had to sit down in a stool the whole time. And as you guys know, carnivore diet meals are very simple. You're only cooking meat with salt. So it didn't take long, but I still had to sit down because I couldn't stand for longer than like a minute. And now I can stand for, I don't know, 20 plus minutes. It's still somewhat of a challenge, but I am continuing to improve in my standing ability. Walking ability has greatly improved as well, in terms of POTS and dizziness, as well in terms of like neurological symptoms. In the past, I would have like weakness in my leg, like my leg would kind of give out when trying to walk, or sometimes drag. That has completely resolved. With the walking and the POTS, I would say the brain retraining program has helped more than the diet has. So getting your body out of that fight or flight state that it is in with chronic illness is really what has helped me the most with POTS. Earlier this year, several months ago, I walked to my driveway and back for the first time. And then several weeks after, I walked a mile for the first time in 5 years. And now I can walk several miles, continuing to try to increase that capacity. But yeah, just the gift of being able to move and to walk in a way that I don't feel so incredibly ill being upright at all. I mean, it's just hard to describe what that feels like after so many years of just feeling so so sick when just sitting upright or trying to stand. Truthfully, before I started this way of eating, I was not really living. I was surviving, barely surviving. And I'm thankful that I hung on, because I have just seen incredible progress, and it feels like a miracle. And to me, it's just such an amazing testament to how our bodies are designed to heal from acute illnesses and injuries as well as chronic illnesses. It's just a hard thing to tap into, and I really do think that the combination of doing carnivore as well as doing the brain retraining and getting my body out of that constant state of fight or flight so that I could heal is really what has brought me the most progress. Oh, a few of you guys have asked about like joint pain and instability with the diet, and that's something that I've seen a difference in. I would say closer to 6 to 8 months in, my joints really are starting to feel more stable. They're in less pain, and I am able to obviously do so much more. I've heard from quite a few other EDS patients that eating carnivore or heavily animal-based has helped with their joint instability, even neck instability, spinal instability over time. I think something important to realize is that like when you've been really, really sick for years, it takes quite a long time for your body to heal from that. You have to give it the right conditions to heal, but you kind of have to be patient with it, and there are ups and downs. You know, sometimes people can get worse before they get better, and that obviously when you're that sick is hard to even consider thinking about. But yeah, I just completely believe that healing is possible for almost everyone with chronic illness, and that dramatic improvement from every chronic illness is possible through diet and through addressing the fight or flight. I wrote down a list of things to cover. Oh yeah, headaches and migraines. So those have dramatically decreased as well. For years, my family never saw me without like a headband ice pack around either like my forehead or the back of my neck and my head. I was in so much pain all the time, and I have had some windows where I've been in no pain at all, which I don't have any words for it. I'm just so grateful. I feel like I'm being given a second chance at life, and yeah, I don't want to take that for granted. Sorry, this is kind of jumbled up here, but I also wanted to talk about sleep and insomnia. I had quite a long time where I barely slept at all just because I was in so much pain. I would have non-epileptic seizures repeatedly all night. My limbs would like violently flail, and I was conscious during that, and it was just very, very painful and exhausting. Anyway, we don't need to relive that, but yeah, I've been able to sleep. I wouldn't say my sleep is great, but it's slowly improving. That's something I know a lot of other people notice when they go carnivore or animal-based. Some more like trivial improvements that I've seen is that I actually don't get sunburned. As you guys can see, I am very fair-skinned, and I don't think that's because of carnivore. I think it's because of cutting out seed oils. There were times in my life when I got like true sun poisoning where it like turned purple with blisters and I had fevers. So some of you have asked if my hair has gotten like thicker or grown in more with carnivore. So a lot of people with chronic illness do experience like hair loss and hair falling out, stuff like that. That never really happened to me. My hair has always been really thick. I did get some early gray white hairs, like I noticed the first ones when I was 17 or something like that, but I have noticed that my hair is getting thicker, which I don't really want it to get thicker, but it's getting thicker, it's growing faster. I didn't need either of those things, but yeah, it's like all the way down to my waist. So anyway, that's the main update. I'm sure there are other things that I have forgotten or left out, but just in general, my life has completely changed. Like, my life looks nothing like it looked when I started the carnivore diet a year ago. I've been able to travel some the last few months. I'm going on a family vacation to Florida in a few weeks, and I'm going to Disney World with my sister's family, and I don't think we're going to need to bring my wheelchair. That's another thing. I have not used my wheelchair in months. Even, just to give you a little perspective, even like up until I think 8 or 9 months into carnivore, I still had to use my wheelchair for long distances. The last few times that I have been through the airport, I haven't needed to use the wheelchair for the first time in quite a few years, which is just so almost freeing. Like, it feels so good to just be able to walk and not have such limitations. I'm looking forward to going to Disney World. I'm looking forward to hiking more in the future, to climbing again one day. Before I got sick, I was a rock climber. It was my passion. I still haven't gotten back to climbing yet just because of my neck, my spinal instability. It's so much better. It's improving. It's mild now. But it's just something that takes a while to really heal from, and I don't want to set myself back. I'm really just trying to pay attention to my body and what it needs to heal, and sometimes that's hard, like when you just want to do everything after you've been deprived for so many years of really just living life. All good problems to have, right? I am incredibly thankful for this way of eating. Here I am over a year into carnivore. When I first started, I thought, oh, I'll give it like 4 to 6, maybe 8 weeks just to see how it goes, and I'm still going a year later. As for the future, I don't plan to be strict carnivore forever. I can see myself being mostly carnivore and animal-based for the rest of my life, but I do want to have a little bit of flexibility. I just want to stay open-minded. I think some people say, oh, I'm going to be carnivore for the rest of my life, and I'm like, I'm 26 years old, you know, like, I don't have any desire to go back to seed oils, processed foods, refined sugar, anything like that. Those things that make us sick. I have no desire to eat that because I want to give my body the best chance that it can to be healthy. But eating a little bit of seasonal fruit here and there, or a little bit of garlic or herbs on my meat every once in a while, like, I'd like to be able to do that sometimes, you know? So I'll keep you updated on that. Also, I did the lion diet for, I don't know, 7 or 8 months out of the year of my carnivore diets, and if I were to go back, I would not have done that. And I will make a video on that later, but basically I've come to sort of adopt the belief that with non-ruminant animals, if they are raised and fed in the way that nature intended, then they're not inflammatory for us to eat. So like, for example, chicken and pork, when you buy it from the grocery store, it's fed corn and soy, and because it has a monogastric digestive system, that inflammation from what they're eating is passed along to the food a lot more so than, say, beef. So personally, I think that's why people do a lot better with conventional beef or bison or lamb, because the ruminant animals have that ability to filter out the toxins much more than animals like chickens or pigs. So I've added in corn and soy free pork, corn and soy free chicken, a little bit of wild caught salmon. I really do want to make a full video on why I don't think the lion diet is necessarily best for most people, and what changed and improved when I started incorporating things like egg yolks and corn and soy free pork. I'll save those details for another day because this video has already gotten pretty long, but that's my 1 year update. 1 year of eating only meat, and my life thankfully looks completely different than when I started. Thanks for following along, guys. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions or topic ideas for videos, let me know in the comments down below. Hopefully I'll be able to get to them, and I will look forward to seeing you guys again very soon.